I guess we can just get right into this Jimmy Dore RFK stuff. As I mentioned, RFK Jr. appeared live in studio on the Jimmy Dore show yesterday evening. And of course, the controversial subject matter of Israel Palestine came up. And a lot of the people who support RFK for his stance on Ukraine, for example, or maybe his stance on vaccines, they really like him in those regards. But some of those folks, especially in like the Jimmy Dore audience, for example, they do feel pretty strongly about the Israel Palestine situation. And, you know, to be fair to that crowd, you know, kind of like the Jimmy Dore gray zone crowd, they are totally correct on the issue, at least in my opinion, in their analysis of Israel being an apartheid state. So, of course, the subject came up on the Jimmy Dore show, and Jimmy just did the most pathetic softball job you've ever seen. He barely pushed back. He basically just said, well, I don't really, know much about it anyway. I'm not an expert or anything like that. And, you should debate Max Blumenthal instead. So they tried to set that up, and we'll get into, a new update on that. But let's check this out. Here's RFK Jr. on the Jimmy Dore show. And here he is agreeing to debate Max Blumenthal of the Gray Zone over Israel-Palestine. And Max Blumenthal has been very, very vocally critical of RFK's Israel statements and his recent little tour he did with Rabbi Shmuley going around doing apologetics for the Israeli government. So, yeah, let's take a look.
I love Max Blumenthal, but I do not think he's objective on Israel. I think his reporting on Israel is not it needs to be questioned.
Okay, well, here's what I would ask. Just like Peter Hotez ducked you and Joe Rogan, I would love.
Look at how he lathers that one up.
It's not me. So would you do an interview with Max, because he would be able to talk to you about this way better?
An interview.
I'm really not good at this.
Yeah, I would love to talk.
Can we pause this? Jimmy's saying I'm not good at this. And why the fuck do you run your mouth about this all goddamn day, every single fucking day? What the fuck do you have to say to Cornel West about it when he does push back to Anderson Cooper, right? And you rip him to shreds post hoc, and then you are in the hot seat one fucking time, and you're like, well, boy, I'm not good at this, boy. I don't have anything to say. I don't know, guys. What do you mean you don't have anything to say? All you've done is scream about how anybody that's dumber than rocks could make this argument to anybody your entire fucking career. This is how you know Jimmy's so unserious, because he doesn't want to burn his relationship with RFKJ, and he knows that if anybody asked him or gave him the kind of pushback that he would be inclined to give RFK, he would never go back on that show. He would Adam and Sitch them so hard, right? And he thinks that's what RFK would do. So he won't even provide the most mild pushback. He's like, would you talk to my friend? Maybe, because he's, he would talk to you. Me, I love everybody, bro. I never have opinions. I'm just a regular guy. I never make passive judgments or anything like this. I never cast stones when it comes to how other people respond to pressure in debates. It's crazy. This is why Jimmy doesn't debate anybody, guys, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and he wouldn't be able to provide any kind of real-time pushback about anything. He doesn't believe in fucking anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, when it came to Cornel West, it seemed like Jimmy thought it was very easy to do an adversarial interview. You guys might remember that. Here, let me just play the first couple seconds of our clip from the other day so you guys can just get a taste, in case you forgot, of his attitude while talking about Cornel West, who, in Jimmy's estimation, didn't do a very good job summing up a complex foreign policy crisis on a podcast interview, or in this case, a cable news interview. And Jimmy was making the case, well, it's easy to do an adversarial interview. If I can do it, then certainly Dr. Cornel West can do it. So yeah, in case anyone forgot.
No one knows how to do an interview, an adversarial interview. I think Christ, I do.
Well, I think,
no, you don't.
I don't think
Jesus Christ.
Well, I mean, I don't think he's going to win anyway. I didn't think he.
That's not about winning, Kurt. It's about attracting as big of an audience and followers that you can. So then you now have.
Yeah, just 100% money take right there. What did we say? The level of self-delusion. Yeah, it's also just called lying to your audience. Okay, guys, it's called lying to your audience. It's called not knowing how to provide any kind of pushback. Do you look at me? I'm what a bad debater is. I just still sat and debated for 2 fucking hours yesterday. I gave it my best shot. I'm like, you don't think this? You're like, are you sure you don't believe this? Like, I think that's crazy. Like, do you think you have Stockholm syndrome? Like, blah, blah, blah. You got to at least put it out there. You got to at least say, no, I think this, right? And then if Jimmy had done that, if he had provided like serious pushback on this situation, I would be coming out here and I would say, you know what? Yeah. Jimmy, this is his line in the sand. I said that I have no problem roasting the fuck out of a guy like Max Blumenthal, but when he came out and he was like, no, RFKJ, this is a firm line in the sand for me. Like, you are wrong here. I was like, well, that's the line in the sand for them. Okay, there it is. I gotta give them props. They stayed lying in the sand on the right side of this entire charade. But just Jimmy right here, just the absolute transparency of his cowardice. In the it's all like the emperor has no clothes, right? It's crazy, and it's all out in fucking public.
Yep, 100%. So again, Jimmy Dore castigating Cornel West for not being able to handle an adversarial interview. Although, to Cornel West's credit, I thought he did perfectly decent in that interview. It's maybe not his best performance ever, but certainly a lot better than whatever the fuck this was. Let's go back just real quick in case you missed it.
Would you do an interview with Max? Because he would be able to talk to you about this way better than I can. I'm really not good.
I thought you knew how to do an adversarial interview, clown. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And also, when I originally pulled that Cornel West interview, I had given it the headline, Base Cornel West, because in that interview, he calls Anderson Cooper establishment to his face. That's why there was a Mediaite article. And I was like, guys, this is crazy. Bernie would have never called Anderson Cooper Democratic Party establishment to his face live on air, prime time. Are you fucking kidding me? No, it was based. And Jimmy, he fucking completely ignored that. Jimmy could have had his druthers with that fucking clip like that, saying, Cornel West schools Anderson Cooper, calls him establishment to his face, and then goes on and says, this is how you have to treat these people, right? That's what you would do if you were at all sympathetic to the points that Cornel West were making. Like, you're right, Gavin. Was it the fucking 10 out of 10? No, but 8.5. Pretty damn good for CNN prime time. It's, there were some good nuggets in there. It wasn't the same as when he made Don Lemon cry, right? Like, he set some high bars for himself. But all I'm saying is that to nitpick that one, and then to be like, oh, I could do it. I know nobody but me knows how to fucking do this. And then you are in that exact spot. And then you say, well, I'm not good at this, man. Like, let me call my friend. My mom is actually pretty good at debating. Do you want to talk to her on the phone? Because I told her what I think, and she kind of, she agrees with me. She'll argue with you. Fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. It's like, bro, this was your chance. You said I can do an adversarial interview. I do. Well, here was your fucking chance, bro. Here was your chance. You could have convinced him. You could have changed his mind. Instead of trying to lock him into some promise to debate your homie Max Blumenthal, a promise which, by the way, he has since weaseled out of. Looks like RFK Jr. might be reneging on his commitment, and Max Blumenthal shared that this morning on The Hills Rising. So let's take a look. I think this is around the time where they start discussing that.
Jr. sat down with popular comedian and podcaster Jimmy Dore for a conversation. Many people in the chat seem to want you to talk to him specifically head to head because of their frustration with some of his views on Israel-Palestine. He apparently agreed, and you tweeted that debate is pending. Do you have any more details about when we might be able to look forward to seeing you in a head-to-head exchange with RFK Jr.?
Yeah, I do. So Jimmy asked RFK, he said, I'm not an expert on Israel-Palestine, but a lot of what you're saying about Palestinians being simply a bunch of terrorists and Israel only attacking military targets and Israel just being this beacon of democracy surrounded by enemies doesn't sound true to me. It doesn't ring true. So why don't you debate someone like Max Blumenthal, for example, who has dedicated years of their journalistic career to covering this issue. I've written 2 books, done a documentary on it. I think I'm qualified. I'm at least as qualified as RFK to talk about it. And RFK is someone, I've been sympathetic to his campaign. I sympathize with several planks of his campaign. So it's not as though I'm coming at him in bad faith and that I'm seeking to destroy him on behalf of the Biden administration or some other force. So I think it would be a civil debate. RFK seemed blindsided by Jimmy's question. Jimmy brought up Peter Hotez, the doctor who RFK had been trying to debate, who shied from the debate, and RFK agreed. But what I've heard, I have a source, and I may actually be able to publish this. I'm not sure. But I have a source who spoke to RFK's communications director, Stephanie Spear, and she completely took off the table any possibility of him doing a debate on Israel. This is while RFK Jr. is running around with Shmuley Boteach, an operative of the Adelson family, the far-right Likudnik family that funded the Trump operation, named for the late Sheldon Adelson, who called for dropping a nuclear bomb on Iran. He's running around with him going to Israel pride parades and making, in RFK's words, the case for Israel. So I think he should engage with people who sympathize with his campaign in the same way and demonstrate the integrity of his position. But that doesn't, I actually am increasingly pessimistic after what I've heard in the last few hours.
That's disappointing to hear. I think a lot of people were really heartened by his seeming openness to talking with you. I still hope that somehow it ends up manifesting, but thank you so much for all of your reporting.
Yeah. So guess it's not going to happen.